Right now, TDS is in a very dry state, and even though there's a Halloween event right around the corner, events are just a temporary fix. And as much as I love events, when it's all over, TDS will feel boring again. But I hate to complain without coming up with a solution. So I think there are a few key updates that Paradox Team can make to revive the game's replayability, which is currently the main issue in the game. So I'm going to be going over 3 updates that I think can save TDS's replayability problem. The first update I want to talk about is a hardcore rework. People have been talking about reworking hardcore for ages, and rightfully so. Right now, playing hardcore feels like a punishment for something you did wrong. It is currently one of the most boring things on earth. As of right now, the enemies are ancient, like 2020 ancient. The game mode is 40 minutes of nothingness. It's slow, boring, and you have to play a lot of games to even get any hardcore towers. I think a complete rework of hardcore has been necessary for years. The only things that I would keep are the music, Fallen Swordmaster, and Void Reaver. Other than that, I think everything else has to go on the game mode. I think refreshed and unique enemies exclusive to hardcore would be great, and I think having actual hardcore exclusive maps would really add to the vibe of the mode. Everyone knows that the color scheme of hardcore is like purple, black, neon, kind of playing into that Voidlands theme, and I think really honing in on this and making everything actually feel related and coherent can make the game mode feel refreshed and just make it better overall. I also think it would be better to replace the boss rush of Gravedigger, Molten Boss, and Fallen King with unique hardcore mini bosses. However, that's just me because some people do like this, and I think it is pretty cool, but I would like to see more unique enemies. Overall, I think the mode desperately needs a rework, a consistent vibe, and it needs to be a little bit faster and give more rewards. Something terrible about hardcore is how much of it you have to play, especially if you don't want to ruin your win ratio. I think a reworked hardcore game should take 25 minutes, still longer than the average game, but not something that feels like forever. It should be fun, engaging, and not dragged out. The second update I would love to see in TDS is Chaos Mode, which again has been said millions of times, but I actually think I have an okay idea for Chaos Mode. Instead of having it be like a normal and slowly paced game mode, I think players should immediately be thrown into the deep end, starting with $25,000 to get basic defenses up, and gaining money a lot more easily and faster in the mode. I think the Chaos Mode should lean into a glitchy type vibe, sort of like the old Hidden Wave, and it should be packed with fast-paced gameplay, unique, animated, and new colorful enemies. I think for this mode, the waves would be pretty long, and at the end of every wave, there's a mini-boss, and every wave a new and stronger mini-boss appears. Again, I would also love to see special and exclusive maps being added, or I would love to see the map changing mechanic being implemented, maybe changing the map every few waves. I think for a true Chaos Mode to happen, it shouldn't feel like the same game every single time. Now, some people may disagree, but to avoid the game mode from getting boring, we can bring randomness into it. The devs can divide the enemies into tiers and spawn different enemies every game. I think a Chaos Mode could also be endless too, challenging players to get as far as they can while not being boring and slow like TDX's Endless Mode. I also think that every tower should be available in this mode, or you can unlock an extra tower slot every wave you survive, because I think it just overall needs to be really hard and you should be able to implement every part of the game into this. The only problem I see with this idea is balancing, and making sure enemies of the same tier are of similar difficulties, just with different abilities. Another thing that would be hard to balance is rewards, because, well, rewards are just a mess in the game, and they're not very good at balancing. I don't think a Chaos Mode would be that good for grinding. It would just be very fun, but it still should have some decent rewards to entice players to actually play. The last update that I think would be great for TDS is the ability to go back and play old events. They did promise this to be added with Sandbox Mode, and they never delivered it. In my opinion, Sandbox Mode is a complete disappointment in the sense that it didn't deliver at all on what it was promised, but that's a completely different topic that I really don't want to get into. I think that letting people play old events would be great for the game's health, as event towers are an iffy topic. I did talk about it before, but I think that if they're going to sell the towers for Robux, it ruins the exclusivity of the tower, so they should just add a way for people to get them anyways, and give a skin to the people who beat the events originally. I think by adding old events, you allow new players to experience various important pieces of TDS's 6-year history for the first time, and you allow old players to go back and play events that they barely missed or re-experience something that they've been thinking about for so many years. I think this is the update that needs the least amount of explaining, but it could also make a big difference. If Paradoxum wants the players to stay in extra long and farm playtime like they probably would, they can make a play on like a timeline, one event after the other in chronological order, but either way, adding old events would be a great thing for the health of the game. The only thing with all these 3 updates is that they would take a very long time to make, but with Paradoxum dropping nothing good for this entire year, I think they could sacrifice some tower reworks and some map updates to solve the actual problem of replayability. Thanks, and yeah, that's it.